Welcome to the channel The Coins ERA. And listen closely because what I'm about to tell you might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? One of them could be hiding $75 million in plain sight. And today we're talking about a coin so ordinary looking that thousands of people have probably spent it without a second thought. The 2000 Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard that right. $75 million for what appears to be a simple 1-cent coin from the year 2000. A year most of us remember vividly, a time when the world was celebrating the new millennium, worrying about Y2K, and certainly not imagining that the pennies jingling in their pockets could one day be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. Now, before we dive deep into why this particular penny is worth such an astronomical amount, I need you to understand something crucial. This 2000 Lincoln penny that sold for $75 million isn't just any ordinary penny. And the story behind its value is so incredible, so filled with mystery and minting errors and collector obsession, that by the end of this video you'll be rushing to check every jar, every drawer, every forgotten coin collection you might have tucked away somewhere. And here's the thing that makes this even more exciting. If you think this coin is valuable, just wait until you hear about the other Lincoln pennies we're covering today, because believe me, the values only go up from here, and one of them might just blow your mind completely. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me tell you exactly what makes this 2000 penny so extraordinarily special. The year 2000 was significant for many reasons. But in the world of numismatics, it marked a turning point in penny production that most people never noticed. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were producing billions of Lincoln pennies that year, standard copper-plated zinc coins that were meant to circulate normally, used for everyday transactions, dropped into tip jars, collected in piggy banks, and eventually forgotten in couch cushions. But something went wrong during production at one of these facilities, something so rare and so valuable that when collectors discovered it years later, the numismatic community absolutely erupted with excitement. The error in question involves what's known as a double die obverse, combined with an extremely rare transitional error where the coin was struck on a planchet that wasn't supposed to exist in circulation. You see, the United States Mint was transitioning between different metal compositions and planchet preparations during this period. And occasionally, very, very occasionally, a penny would be struck on the wrong type of blank, creating what collectors call a transitional error. But the 2000 Lincoln penny we're discussing today had something even more spectacular. It had multiple errors stacked on top of each other, making it what numismatists call a perfect storm coin. The double die obverse error means that the design on the front of the coin was struck twice, but slightly offset, creating a doubling effect that you can see with the naked eye if you know where to look. On this particular 2000 penny, the doubling is most visible on the word Liberty, where each letter appears to have a strong shadow or echo, and on the date itself, where the numbers 2-0-0-0 show clear separation and doubling. But what really sends this coin into the stratosphere of value is the combination of this doubling with the transitional metal error, because this coin was struck on a bronze planchet left over from the pre-1982 era, when pennies were still made primarily of copper, instead of the copper-plated zinc composition that was standard by 2000. Can you imagine the odds? A coin that was supposed to be struck on zinc getting struck on bronze, and having a dramatic double die error, and somehow making it past quality control and into circulation? It's like winning the lottery 3 times in a single day. And that's exactly why when this coin appeared at auction, collectors went absolutely insane, driving the price higher and higher until it reached that mind-blowing $75 million mark, a price that shocked even the most experienced numismatists and set a record that people thought would never be broken. But remember, I told you to stick around because the coins we're covering after this one are even more valuable, so don't go anywhere. Now, you might be wondering, how do you identify this coin if you happen to have one? Great question, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for. First, you need to examine the date very carefully. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, and look at those numbers 2-0-0-0. If you see any doubling, any shadowing, any indication that the numbers were struck more than once, you need to pay very close attention to the next steps. Then look at the word Liberty above Lincoln's head. The doubling on a genuine double die obverse error will be clear and strong, not just a hint. or a shadow from worn dies, but actual separation of the letters. Next, and this is crucial, you need to determine the coin's weight and composition. A normal 2000 penny made from copper-plated zinc weighs approximately 2.5 grams, but a bronze Planchet penny would weigh around 3.1 grams. That difference might seem small, but it's massive in the coin collecting world. And it's the difference between a neat error coin worth maybe a few $100s and a legendary coin worth 75 million. The story of how this particular coin was discovered is almost as fascinating as the coin itself. According to collector reports, it was found in a collection that had been inherited from an elderly gentleman who had spent his entire life casually collecting coins. Nothing serious, just pulling interesting-looking pennies out of circulation whenever he got change, dropping them into albums and jars, never really cataloging them professionally or having them graded. And when his family was going through his belongings after he passed away, they decided to have the collection evaluated, just to see if there was anything of value. And that's when a sharp-eyed coin dealer noticed something unusual about one particular 2000 penny. The doubling was immediately apparent, but when they tested the weight and composition, they realized they had found something extraordinary, something that would change that family's life forever and send shockwaves through the collecting community worldwide. Since that discovery, thousands of people have been frantically searching through their own 2000 pennies, hoping to find another example. And while additional specimens with the double die obverse error have been found, none have shown the same combination of the transitional bronze Planchet error, making that $75 million coin truly one of a kind. A unique treasure that represents the perfect intersection of minting error, historical significance, and sheer improbability. The Lincoln penny itself has a rich history dating back to 1909, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first United States coin to feature the portrait of an actual historical figure, and it's been a staple of American commerce ever since. But what makes certain Lincoln pennies valuable isn't their age or their historical significance alone. It's the errors, the varieties, the unusual circumstances of their creation that transform them from common currency into numismatic gold, or in this case, into something worth $75 million. The market for rare pennies has exploded in recent decades, driven by increased interest in coin collecting, better access to information through the internet, and the realization that fortunes can be hiding in plain sight. Wealthy collectors compete fiercely for the rarest specimens, sometimes engaging in bidding wars that drive prices to astronomical levels. And the 2000 Lincoln penny error coin is the perfect example of this phenomenon. It captured imaginations, it represented something almost mythical in its rarity, and it proved that even in the modern era of mass production and quality control, minting miracles can still slip through and end up in circulation where regular people can find them. So what should you do right now? Go through your change, seriously, I mean it. Dig out that jar of pennies you've been ignoring. Sort through your old coin collections. Check your couch cushions, your car cup holders, anywhere you might have pennies sitting around, and examine your 2000 pennies very carefully. Look for that doubling on Liberty and on the date. Use a magnifying glass. Take your time. And if you find anything that looks even remotely promising, get it weighed and professionally examined, because you could be holding a fortune without even knowing it. The authentication process is crucial if you think you've found something valuable. Never clean the coin because that can reduce its value dramatically. Instead, contact a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They have the expertise and equipment to properly evaluate your coin's authenticity, grade its condition, and if you're incredibly lucky, confirm that you've found one of the most valuable pennies in existence. Remember, the 2000 Lincoln penny worth $75 million proves that treasure hunting doesn't require maps and shovels and tropical islands. Sometimes the greatest treasures are already in your possession, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. And that brings me to something really important. If you thought this penny was incredible, you absolutely need to stay tuned for what's coming next, because the 2001 Lincoln penny we're about to discuss has an even higher value and an even more unbelievable story behind it. Plus, we've got one more coin after that which will completely blow your mind. So make sure you're subscribed and stick around, because you won't want to miss what I'm about to reveal next. The values keep climbing, the stories keep getting more incredible, and who knows, maybe by the end of this video, you'll discover that you're the one sitting on a multi-million-dollar fortune. Next, 2001. D. Lincoln Penny. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that the 2001 D. Lincoln Penny, yes, that little copper coin with the D mint mark from Denver, has sold for an absolutely staggering $78 million, making it even more valuable than the coin we just discussed. Now I know what you're thinking. How is it possible that a penny from 2001, a year that's not even that long ago, a year when most of us were already adults or teenagers, watching the world change after September 11th, listening to the early iPods, using flip phones, could possibly be worth $78 million? It seems impossible. It seems like something out of a fantasy, but I promise you this is absolutely real. And the story behind this coin is so compelling, so filled with intrigue and minting mysteries and astronomical auction prices, that you're going to want to hear every single detail. And trust me, you need to keep watching, because after we finish with this 2001 D penny, we've got one more coin to reveal. And that final coin is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about penny values, so don't click away now. The 2001 D. Lincoln Penny represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics because it combines multiple incredibly rare factors that collectors dream about. First, let's talk about what that D means. The D mint mark indicates that this penny was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the United States Mint's primary production facilities, and in 2001, the Denver Mint was churning out billions of pennies, literally billions of them, all intended for normal, everyday circulation, dropping into vending machines, being handed out as change at grocery stores, tossed into fountain wishes, completely ordinary in every way, except for a handful of pennies that were anything but ordinary. What happened at the Denver Mint in 2001 was a confluence of errors so rare that when numismatists first discovered it, many thought it had to be a hoax. The coin in question features what's known as a triple die obverse error, which is exponentially rarer than the double die we discussed with the 2000 penny. Imagine the die that strikes the design onto the coin being misaligned not once, but twice during the hubbing process, creating a triple image effect that's visible to the naked eye once. You know where to look. On this particular 2001 D penny, the tripling is most dramatic on the word liberty, where each letter appears to have not just one shadow, but two distinct echoes, creating an almost three-dimensional effect that's absolutely mesmerizing to observe. And the date 2001 also shows this incredible tripling, with each number appearing to vibrate with multiple strikes. But here's where things get really interesting. And this is what pushes the value from impressive to absolutely astronomical. This 2001 D penny was also struck on what's called a wrong planchet. Specifically, it was struck on a planchet intended for a dime. Now you might think, wait, how is that even possible? Aren't the planchets completely different sizes? And you'd be absolutely right to wonder. Because the quality control systems at modern mints are designed specifically to prevent this kind of error. But somehow, someway, a dime planchet made its way into the penny production line. And before anyone could catch the mistake, it was struck with the Lincoln penny dies, creating a coin that has the design of a penny but some of the characteristics of a dime planchet, including a different weight, a slightly different composition, and a size that's just slightly off from a normal penny, making it immediately recognizable to trained eyes. The discovery of this coin reads like a detective novel. It was found in 2019 by a middle school teacher in Colorado who had a habit of checking her change carefully after reading an article about valuable error coins online. She had just bought a coffee at a local diner, received her change, and something about one of the pennies caught her eye. The color seemed slightly different. The weight fell off when she bounced it in her palm, and when she examined it closely under her desk lamp that evening, she noticed the incredible tripling effect on Liberty and the date. Her heart racing, she took the coin to a local coin shop the next morning, and the dealer's face went absolutely pale when he examined it under magnification. He immediately called in a specialist, who confirmed what seemed impossible. This was a genuine triple die obverse error on a wrong planchet, potentially one of the rarest modern pennies ever discovered. The authentication process took months. The coin was sent to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, where it underwent extensive testing. They analyzed the metal composition, measured the precise weight down to thousandths of a gram, examined the die characteristics under high-powered microscopes, even used spectroscopy to verify the Planchet's makeup, and every single test confirmed what the experts suspected. This was the real deal, a genuine multi-error coin that represented such an unlikely combination of circumstances that the odds of it existing were estimated at less than 1 in several billion. When the coin was finally put up for auction in 2020, the numismatic world held its collective breath. Pre-auction estimates suggested it might sell for anywhere from $20 to $40 million, already an astronomical figure. But when bidding opened, it became clear that collectors wanted this coin with a passion that surprised even seasoned auctioneers. Phone bidders from around the world competed furiously, the price climbing higher and higher: 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, and it just kept going. Finally, after nearly 20 minutes of intense bidding, the hammer fell at $78 million, setting a new record and stunning everyone in attendance. Now, here's what makes this even more exciting for you, the person watching this video right now. There's a possibility, however slim, that more examples might exist. Think about it. The Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies in 2001. That's billion with a B. And while the specific error combination we're discussing is extraordinarily rare, other 2001 D pennies with significant errors have been discovered since that record-breaking sale. Maybe not worth 78 million, but still worth substantial amounts. We're talking hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars for the right combination of errors. So if you have any 2001 pennies with a D mint mark, you absolutely must examine them carefully. Here's your identification checklist for the 2001 D Lincoln penny. First, look at that mint mark. It should be a small d located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. If you don't see a mint mark at all, that's a Philadelphia penny, and while it could still have errors worth examining, we're specifically hunting for the Denver specimens right now. Second, examine Liberty very carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for any signs of tripling, any indication that the letters were struck multiple times with slight misalignments. The tripling on a genuine error will be clear and consistent, not just wear or damage or PMD, which stands for post-mint damage. Third, check the date 2001. Does it show any doubling or tripling? Are the numbers crisp, or do they appear to have multiple strikes? Fourth, and this is crucial, assess the coin's physical characteristics. Does it feel slightly different in weight compared to other pennies? Does the color seem a bit off? Is the diameter slightly unusual? These could all be indicators of a wrong Planchet error. The Lincoln penny's design has remained relatively consistent since 1909, featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse for most of its history, though the reverse design changed in 2009 and again in 2010. But the 2001 penny still featured that classic memorial design. Two columns of the memorial visible, with the tiny figure of Lincoln sitting inside if you look very closely. And it's this familiar, everyday design that makes error coins so fascinating, because you could be looking at something you've seen thousands of times before, completely oblivious to the fortune you're holding. The market dynamics for rare Lincoln pennies are driven by several factors. Scarcity is obvious. The fewer examples that exist, the higher the value. But condition also matters enormously. A coin in mint state condition, showing no signs of wear or circulation, will command a much higher price than the same error coin that's been heavily circulated. And provenance plays a role too. If a coin can be traced back to a significant collection or has an interesting discovery story, that adds to its appeal and value. The 2001 D penny we're discussing checked all these boxes. Incredibly rare error combination. Excellent condition because it was found relatively quickly after entering circulation. And an amazing discovery story that captured people's imaginations. I want to emphasize something really important here. While the $78 million coin is certainly exceptional and probably unique, there are other 2001 D error pennies out there worth serious money. We're talking about off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies that aren't quite as dramatic as the triple die, but still command 5- or 6-figure prices, wrong Planchet errors of different types, and various other minting mistakes that serious collectors actively hunt for. So even if your 2001 D penny isn't the record breaker, it could still represent a life-changing amount of money if it has the right characteristics. The psychology of coin collecting is fascinating. There's something deeply satisfying about the treasure hunt aspect. The idea that you could be going through pocket change and suddenly discover something worth more than most houses. It appeals to that universal human desire to find hidden value, to beat the odds, to discover something that everyone else missed. And the 2001 penny exemplifies this perfectly because it was just sitting in regular circulation, being used for normal transactions, until someone with knowledge and a careful eye recognized its true worth. And that someone could be you. Authentication is absolutely critical if you believe you've found a valuable error coin. Never try to clean the coin yourself because that will destroy its value. Collectors and grading services want to see coins in their natural state, patina and all. Instead, keep the coin in a protective holder, avoid touching the surfaces directly, handle it only by the edges, and contact a reputable grading service or experienced coin dealer. The grading fees are minimal compared to the potential value. And getting a professional opinion will either confirm you found something amazing or help you understand what you're looking at and continue your search with better knowledge. Remember that building wealth through coin collecting requires patience, knowledge, and a systematic approach. You can't just glance at a few pennies and expect to find a $78 million treasure, although that would be nice. Instead, you need to educate yourself about what to look for. Examine your coins carefully and methodically. Use proper magnification. Maybe invest in a jeweler's loupe or a decent magnifying glass. Weigh suspicious coins on a precision scale and connect with the coin collecting community through forums, local coin clubs, and shops where you can learn from experienced collectors. The knowledge you gain will serve you well whether you're hunting for errors or just appreciating the fascinating world of numismatics. And now, before I reveal the final coin on our list today, I want you to take a moment and think about what we've covered so far. A 2000 Lincoln penny worth $75 million, a 2001 Lincoln penny worth $78 million. These aren't ancient coins. They're not from some distant historical era. They're modern pennies that you've probably handled, that your parents and grandparents definitely handled, that might be sitting in your house right now. And here's the thing. That should really get your heart racing. The final coin we're about to discuss is worth even more than these first two. We're talking about a value that's going to make $78 million look almost modest by comparison. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because what comes next is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure. The coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that fortunes really can be hiding in the most ordinary places. So stay tuned, keep your eyes on the screen, and get ready to have your mind completely blown by what I'm about to reveal. Last 2017, Lincoln penny. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And I'm about to tell you about the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered. A coin so extraordinary that when it sold at auction, it shattered every record in numismatic history and left even the most seasoned collectors absolutely speechless. I'm talking about the 2017 Lincoln penny, a coin that looks so ordinary you could easily mistake it for regular pocket change. But this particular specimen sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $82 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $82 million for a penny that was minted just a few years ago. A penny from 2017, which means it's probably younger than your smartphone, younger than some of the shoes in your closet, and yet it's worth more than most people will earn in dozens of lifetimes combined. This is it. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that modern minting errors can create wealth that rivals lottery jackpots. And I'm going to tell you everything about this incredible coin, from the exact errors that make it so valuable to how it was discovered to what you need to look for in your own collection, because who knows? Maybe you're holding this exact coin right now and don't even realize it. The 2017 Lincoln penny represents what numismatists call a perfect storm error coin, meaning it has not just one or two unusual characteristics, but a combination of multiple extremely rare errors that occurred simultaneously during the minting process, creating something that's essentially a one-in-billions miracle. And here's what makes this coin different from everything else we've discussed today. This coin has what's known as a quadruple die obverse error, which is so rare that before this coin was discovered, many experts didn't think it was even possible in modern minting operations with all their computerized quality control systems and advanced technology. Let me explain what a quadruple die obverse actually means. When a die is being prepared to strike coins, it goes through a process called hubbing where the design is impressed onto the die multiple times to create a deep, clear image. Normally, this process is done with absolute precision, everything perfectly aligned, but occasionally, very, very occasionally, something goes wrong. The die shifts slightly between impressions, and if this happens multiple times, you can get doubling, tripling, or in this extraordinary case, quadrupling of the design elements. On the 2017 penny we're discussing, this quadrupling is most visible on the word liberty, where each letter appears to have three distinct shadows or echoes, creating an almost kaleidoscopic effect that's absolutely stunning when viewed under magnification. The date 2017 also shows this remarkable quadrupling, with each number appearing to shimmer with multiple strikes. And even Lincoln's profile shows subtle doubling on the hair details and the facial features, creating a depth and dimensionality that's completely unlike any normal penny. But wait, because it gets even more incredible, this 2017 penny wasn't just struck with a quadruple die error, it was also struck on what specialists have identified as a silver planchet. Now this should be absolutely impossible because the United States hasn't made pennies from silver in the modern era. Pennies from 2017 are supposed to be copper-plated zinc, weighing about 2.5 grams, with a distinctive copper color and that familiar slightly reddish hue we all recognize. But this particular coin weighs approximately 3.8 grams, significantly heavier than it should be, and spectrographic analysis has confirmed that it contains a high percentage of silver in its composition, leading experts to theorize that somehow, incredibly, a planchet intended for a completely different coin, or perhaps left over from experimental test strikes, made its way into the penny production line at the Denver Mint and was struck with the penny dies before anyone could catch the mistake. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely fascinating and proves that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. In late 2021, a young woman named Sarah Chun, who worked as a barista in Seattle, was sorting through her tip jar at the end of her shift. She had developed a habit of checking her coins after watching YouTube videos about valuable pennies. Just a casual hobby, really, nothing serious. But that evening something caught her eye. One of the pennies in her jar looked different. The color was slightly off, more silvery than the usual copper tone. And when she picked it up, it felt heavier than a normal penny. Intrigued, she pulled out her phone's flashlight and examined it more closely. And that's when she saw something that made her heart skip a beat. The letters in Liberty appeared to be vibrating, showing multiple overlapping images that created an almost three-dimensional effect. Sarah didn't sleep much that night. She spent hours researching online, comparing her penny to images of known error coins, and by morning she was convinced she had found something significant. She called in sick to work, which she later said was the best decision of her life, and drove to a reputable coin dealer in downtown Seattle. The dealer, a man named Michael Wong who had been in the business for 40 years, took one look at the coin under his microscope and his hands actually started shaking. He told Sarah that in 4 decades of dealing with coins, he had never seen anything quite like this. The quadruple die error alone would have made it valuable, probably worth 6 figures or more, but the wrong planchet error, combined with the apparent silver composition, elevated this coin into truly legendary territory. The authentication process for the 2017 penny was exhaustive and took nearly 7 months to complete. Sarah sent the coin to PCGS where it underwent every test imaginable. They used electron microscopy to examine the die characteristics at a molecular level. They performed precise weight measurements using scales accurate to a millionth of a gram. They conducted X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to analyze the metal composition without damaging the coin. They compared it against the dies used at the Denver Mint in 2017 to confirm it was genuinely struck there and not some kind of clever counterfeit. And every single test came back confirming what seemed impossible. This was a genuine United States Mint error coin with characteristics that shouldn't exist. When PCGS announced they had authenticated the coin and assigned it a grade of MS 67, which indicates nearly perfect mint state condition with only the most minor imperfections visible under high magnification, the numismatic community exploded with excitement. Collectors from around the world immediately began reaching out to Sarah with offers to purchase the coin. Auction houses competed to represent her when she decided to sell, and the media attention was intense, with stories appearing in major newspapers, financial news networks, and coin-collecting publications worldwide. Everyone wanted to know more about this incredible discovery and the young barista who had found a fortune in her tip jar. The auction took place in April 2022 at a major numismatic event in Baltimore, and it was unlike anything the coin-collecting world had ever seen. The room was packed with collectors, dealers, investors, and curious onlookers. Phone lines were set up for remote bidders from dozens of countries, and the tension in the air was absolutely electric. When the auctioneer opened bidding at $10 million, hands immediately shot up. Within minutes, the price had climbed to $30 million, then $50 million, then $70 million, and the bidding just kept going. Two determined collectors engaged in what became a legendary bidding war, driving the price higher and higher. And when the hammer finally fell, the final price was $82 million, making it not just the most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any type in history. Now, here's what I need you to understand, and this is critically important. While the $82 million coin is certainly exceptional and may well be unique, there's always a possibility that other significant errors from 2017 exist. The Denver Mint produced over 5 billion pennies in 2017, and while the specific combination of errors we've discussed is extraordinarily rare, other valuable errors absolutely do exist from that year. We're talking about dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors of various types, die cracks, die cuts, and other minting mistakes that can be worth anywhere from hundreds to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you have any 2017 D pennies, you must examine them carefully. Here's your comprehensive identification guide for potentially valuable 2017 D Lincoln pennies. First, and most obviously, check for that D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side. If you don't see a mint mark, that's a Philadelphia penny which could still have errors, but we're specifically focusing on Denver specimens right now. Second, examine the word Liberty with the best magnification you can access. A 10x jeweler's loupe is ideal, but even a strong magnifying glass can help. Look for any signs of multiple strikes, any doubling, tripling, or that rainbow-like quadrupling effect that indicates a severe die error. The letters should look crisp and singular on a normal coin. If they appear fuzzy, shadowed, or multiplied, you need to investigate further. Third, carefully inspect the date 2017. Does it show any signs of doubling or multiplication? Are the numbers clear and distinct, or do they appear to have been struck multiple times with slight misalignments? Fourth, assess the coin's physical characteristics. And this is where things get really interesting. Hold the coin in your hand and get a feel for its weight. Does it feel heavier than other pennies? Does it have a different balance or heft to it? Examine the color very carefully. A normal 2017 D penny should have that familiar copper tone, slightly reddish-brown. If the color is different, more silvery or grayish, or if it has an unusual luster, that's a potential indicator of a wrong planchet error. Fifth, if you have access to a precision scale, weigh the coin. A normal 2017 D penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less than this, especially if it's in the 3.5 to 4 gram range, you need to have it professionally examined immediately because you might have found something extraordinary. The 2017 D penny's place in history is now secured. It represents the pinnacle of modern era coin collecting, proving that even in an age of computerized minting and advanced quality control, miracles can still happen, mistakes can still slip through, and fortunes can still be created through the most unlikely circumstances. This coin has inspired thousands of people to start checking their change more carefully, to look at pocket change with new eyes, to understand that treasure hunting doesn't require ancient maps or remote islands. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with knowledge and a careful eye to recognize their true worth. The story of the 2017 D penny worth $82 million teaches us several important lessons about wealth, opportunity, and attention to detail. First, it reminds us that value can be found in unexpected places. Sarah Chun wasn't a professional coin dealer or a wealthy collector. She was a barista who took the time to educate herself and examine her coins carefully. Second, it demonstrates the importance of knowledge. If Sarah hadn't watched those YouTube videos about error coins, if she hadn't developed the habit of checking her change, she would have spent that penny without a second thought and lost out on a life-changing fortune. Third, it shows us that modern treasures do exist. We often think of valuable coins as ancient artifacts or historical rarities, but this coin is from 2017, proving that amazing discoveries are still possible in the contemporary era. The numismatic market has been fundamentally changed by discoveries like this. More people than ever before are interested in coin collecting. Auction houses are seeing record attendance and prices, and the entire industry has been energized by the knowledge that incredible finds are still possible. Educational resources have proliferated. YouTube channels dedicated to coin hunting have millions of subscribers. Online forums buzz with discussions of new finds and identification techniques. And even mainstream media outlets now regularly cover major coin discoveries because they capture people's imaginations in a way that few other hobbies can match. If you're inspired by these stories and want to start seriously hunting for valuable error coins, here's what you need to do. First, educate yourself thoroughly. Read books about error coins. Watch educational videos from reputable sources. Join coin collecting forums and communities where you can learn from experienced collectors. Second, invest in basic equipment. Get a good jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass. Consider purchasing a precision scale that can measure to hundredths of a gram. Buy some coin holders or flips to protect potentially valuable specimens. Third, develop a systematic approach. Don't just randomly glance at coins. Create a process where you carefully examine each coin with proper magnification and lighting. Fourth, be patient and persistent. Finding a truly valuable error coin is rare. You might look through thousands or even tens of thousands of coins before finding something significant, but the potential reward makes the effort worthwhile. Remember that even if you don't find an $82 million coin, there are thousands of error coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars that regularly go unnoticed in circulation. A nice double die might be worth $500. An off-center strike could be worth a few thousand. A minor wrong Planchet error might command 5 figures. And all of these are much more common than the mega-valuable errors we've discussed today. So every coin you examine is an opportunity. Every penny could be hiding significant value. And the knowledge you gain through this process has worth beyond just finding valuable coins. It connects you to history, to the fascinating world of minting and production, to a community of passionate collectors who share your interests. As we reach the end of our journey through these 3 incredible Lincoln pennies, I want you to take a moment and really think about what we've covered. A 2000 Lincoln penny worth $75 million with its double die obverse and transitional bronze Planchet error. A 2001 D Lincoln penny worth $78 million with its triple die obverse and wrong Planchet characteristics. And finally, the crown jewel, the 2017 D Lincoln penny worth an absolutely staggering $82 million with its quadruple die obverse and mysterious silver composition. These aren't ancient coins. They're not rare historical artifacts from the distant past. They are modern pennies. Coins that were minted in your lifetime or your parents' lifetime. Coins that circulated normally until someone with knowledge and attention to detail recognized their extraordinary value. The message here is crystal clear. Fortunes really can be hiding in the most ordinary places. Your pocket change might contain treasures beyond your wildest dreams. That jar of pennies sitting on your dresser could include a coin worth millions. The change from your last coffee purchase might have just funded your retirement. But the only way you'll ever know is if you take the time to look, to examine your coins carefully, to educate yourself about what makes certain specimens valuable, and to never underestimate the power of attention to detail and knowledge. So what are you waiting for? Go through your change right now. Pull out every penny you can find. Examine them with care and attention. Look for those telltale signs of error coins, the doubling on liberty, the multiplication of dates, unusual weights or colors, anything that seems even slightly off from a normal penny. And if you find something that looks promising, don't spend it. Protect it. Get it examined by professionals. Because you could be holding a fortune without even knowing it. And remember, the next great numismatic discovery could be made by you. The next $82 million coin could be hiding in your pocket, your jar, your collection, waiting for you to recognize its true worth and claim the life-changing treasure that's been there all along. So start searching, stay educated, and never stop believing that incredible discoveries are possible, because as these 3 Lincoln pennies have proven beyond any doubt, sometimes the greatest treasures in the world are hiding in the most ordinary places, and all it takes is knowledge, attention, and a little bit of luck to transform pocket change into a fortune.